Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's get started with our daily quiz and look at question number 1. Khyber Pass is a mountain pass between Pakistan and Afghanistan, Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, Afghanistan and Tajikistan, or D. Afghanistan and Turkmenistan. Khyber Pass, which is in Pakistan, it is the easiest and most direct path through the Hindu Kush between the Indian subcontinent and the Central Asia. This pass has been used for thousands of years by conquerors, by invaders, traders, missionaries. At one point, nearly 80% of all the NATO and US supplies, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, because NATO and US forces, they invaded Afghanistan in the year 2001 to fight against the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda. At one point, nearly 80% of all the NATO and US supplies that were being brought to Afghanistan by road, they were coming through this Khyber Pass. And this Khyber Pass was frequently attacked by the Taliban. At one point in the year 2009, Taliban blew up a bridge, forcing the US and other NATO troops to bring supplies from Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, because Afghanistan is a landlocked country. If this Khyber Pass was blocked by the Taliban, the only way for US and other NATO forces to bring supplies into Afghanistan could have been either through air or through other neighboring countries, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. So Khyber Pass is a mountain pass between Pakistan and Afghanistan. A is the right answer. What is the context? Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani has left the country and Taliban has almost captured the entire Afghanistan. Now let's look at question number 2. Which of the following is or are likely reasons for judicial delays? That means the cases taking a lot of time to reach their logical conclusion. 1. Ambiguity in laws. 2. Low judges to population ratio in India. 3. Judicial vacancies. 4. Parliamentary democracy. What is the context? Chief Justice of India is ruining the sorry state of affairs in lawmaking. He says ambiguity in laws is triggering litigation and causing inconvenience to citizens. If you look at our laws, particularly related to property rights and tenancy, according to various reports, there is a lot of ambiguity in these laws. When there is ambiguity, there is no clarity. Ultimately, the matter reaches the courts, and courts are the final arbiters to decide which interpretation of the law is correct. That is why these cases reach the doors of the judiciary. Chief Justice of India is basically saying that more often than not, the bills are being passed in the parliament without proper debate, without proper discussion. And that is why there is a lot of ambiguity in these laws, because if there is no debate, ultimately we can't make foolproof laws in this country. Now let's look at the question. Which of the following are likely reasons for judicial delays? Ambiguity in laws, yes. Low judges to population ratio, absolutely yes. There was a time when judges to population ratio was 10.5 judges per million population. Now, according to 2020 report, there was a question asked in Rajya Sabha. The concerned minister has replied that today we have 21.03 judges per million population. And there has been a growing demand for many years now that this ratio should be increased to 50 judges per million population. So low judges to population ratio is also one of the reasons for judicial delays. Third, judicial vacancies. More than 400 vacancies in various high courts in this country. There is a lot of vacancy at district courts as well. So these judicial vacancies also lead to judicial delays because the judges are overburdened with the number of cases. But parliamentary democracy is not a likely reason for judicial delays. So 1, 2, 3B is the right answer. Now let's look at question number 3. Operation Meghdoot was an A. Operation to seize control of the Siachen Glacier, operation to end the rule of the Nizam of Hyderabad, Indian operation to push back the infiltrators from the Kargil sector, or D, Indian Army-led rescue and relief mission in quake-hit Nepal? What is the context? This is page number 1 of today's The Hindu newspaper, tracking the highest battlefield in the world. A team of people with disabilities begins journey to the Siachen Glacier. So the correct answer is A, operation to seize control of the Siachen Glacier. Operation to end the rule of Nizam of Hyderabad. This operation was codenamed Polo. Indian operation to push back the infiltrators from the Kargil sector. It was codenamed Operation Vijay. An Indian Army-led rescue and relief mission in quake-hit Nepal. This was known as Operation Maitri. So A is the right answer. Now let's look at a previous year's question, 2020, in the context of Indian history. The Rakhmabai case of 1884 revolved around number 1, women's right to gain education, 2, age of consent, 3, restitution of conjugal rights. The correct answer is B, 2 and 3. Rakhmabai, at the age of 11, she was married to Dadaji Bhikhaji. And at that time, the age of Dadaji Bhikhaji was 19. But they never lived together. When Rakhmabai reached the age of 22, a case was filed against her by her husband Dadaji Bhikhaji that we should start living together. Since husband and wife, although they were married, but they were not living together, then this case could have been filed, restitution of conjugal rights, where you can force your partner to live together. Initially, Rakhmabai won this case, but then an appeal was filed and ultimately Dadaji Bhikhaji won this case. When Dadaji Bhikhaji won this case, if Rakhmabai would have refused to live with Dadaji Bhikhaji, she could have been imprisoned. Her property would have been confiscated as well, but then there was a settlement. Various books and news reports suggest that for rupees 2000 was paid by Rakhmabai to Dadaji Bhikhaji, and after that Dadaji Bhikhaji did not insist on this case to proceed further, and ultimately he remarried. So this case of 1884 revolved around restitution of conjugal rights as well as age of consent. Because after this case, the year was 1891 when Age of Consent Act was passed. And this Age of Consent Act increased the age of consent from 10 to 12 years. So B, 2 and 3 is the right answer. Now let's look at question number 5. Here, water disputes, the states concerned. What is the context? The newly elected Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Bommai, has said that we will not back off from the Mekedatu project. It is a project, primarily a drinking water project, which will use the Kaveri waters. Since on Kaveri River there is a dispute between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka primarily, that is why this Mekedatu project is under a lot of controversy. But Mr. Bommai has said that we won't back off from this project despite protests by Tamil Nadu. Let's look at the other river water disputes. And here, to make it easier for you to remember, all these have been correctly matched. Which means Vansadhara water dispute is between Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Ravi and Beas water dispute, the states concerned are Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. Mahadahi is between Goa, Karnataka and Maharashtra. And Mahanadi water dispute is between Chhattisgarh and Odisha. So A is the correct answer. Now let's look at the fact of the day. Who are the Taliban? In the year 1989, Soviet Union withdrew from Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, if you would know, consists of various ethnic groups. There are Pashtuns, there are Hazaras, there are Tajiks, there are Uzbeks, so on and so forth. After Soviet Union left Afghanistan, there was a civil war. Multiple ethnic groups, they were fighting amongst themselves to control and capture the entire Afghanistan. Then in the year 1994, Mullah Muhammad Umar, who was a cleric, who was a religious leader, he founded Taliban. Mullah Umar was Pashtun. It's an ethnic group. Taliban in Pashto language means students. And in the year 1994, along with 50 of his followers, Mullah Umar established Taliban, with the principal objective of capturing Afghanistan and imposing Sharia in Afghanistan, or the Islamic rule in Afghanistan. They wanted to establish an Islamic emirate of Afghanistan. And from 1996 to 2001, Taliban controlled a major chunk of Afghanistan, although there were other ethnic groups which were in possession of some smaller areas in Afghanistan. But a major chunk of Afghanistan was under the rule of Taliban between 1996 to 2001. Then the 9/11 attacks took place, and these 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda. And the leader of Al-Qaeda was Osama bin Laden. And Osama bin Laden was hiding in Afghanistan. The United States launched war on terror, basically asked the Taliban to hand over Osama bin Laden to United States. Taliban refused, and in October 2001, United States invaded Afghanistan. With the objective of defeating Taliban, with the objective of capturing Osama bin Laden, with the objective of ensuring that Afghanistan soil will not be further used to carry out terror operations, terror activities against the US citizens, against United States. And now in 2021, United States is exiting Afghanistan, and now Afghanistan has once again fallen to Taliban. That is it from our daily quiz segment. Thank you for being with us. Have a great evening.